It's time for America Outdoors Radio. The fast-paced hour of outdoors radio ahead is not only awesome, but unlike those other shows, you can actually sleep in for this one. Better still, we've got a special Pacific Northwest edition for you, sponsored by Northwest Sportsman Magazine. You won't find this version of America Outdoors Radio anywhere else. It's the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio. Brought to you by Fox Sports 1380 KRKO.
Our national show today is a best of edition featuring some great interviews we aired in 2016, but we've got up-to-date stuff for you here on our Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio. At the bottom of the hour, we've got something a little different for you. How different, you ask? How about a turkey hunting dog? Never heard of those before? Me either. Not until I talked to well-known outdoors writer and TV personality Scott Haugen. He'll join us from his home in Springfield, Oregon, to tell you more about dogs trained to sniff out wild turkey. And you'll want to stick around for the end of the show if you want to learn how to catch those kokanee out of north central Washington's Lake Chelan, not only in the summer, but in the winter too. Anton Jones with Daryl and Dad's Guide Service will tell you more about how to go about being successful for kokanee in the winter in Lake Chelan. But first, as always, it's time to tell you what's hot this week in the Pacific Northwest. There's several saltwater openings to tell you about today, including ocean salmon fishing in Marine Area 2-1. That's Willapa Bay, where there's a 2-fish limit, only 1 Chinook. In Marine Area 5, CQ, there's a 2-fish limit too, but you have to release the wild coho and wild Chinook. Marine Area 7, the San Juans, and portions of Marine Area 6 and the East Strait of Juan de Fuca also opens up today with a 2 salmon limit, but you can also keep 2 bonus sockeye on top of that. There are also openings in Hood Canal and around Seattle and Bremerton, and the Tulalip Bubble. Check the regs for further details. Crabbing opens too in Marine Area 6 today. That's the East Strait of Juan de Fuca. 8-1 Deception Pass, 8-2 Port Susan, Everett, and the remainder of Marine Area 9, Admiralty Inlet, as well as Marine Area 10, Seattle Bremerton, and the South Sound, Marine Area 13. It remains open unless you hear otherwise, until September 4th. Heading east of the Cascades, a really fun event you can take part in is going on at Mardon Resort at Potholes Reservoir, where Independence Day is being celebrated on July 3rd. Things will kick off with a golf cart parade in and around the resort, and there are some crazy decorations on those golf carts. And in the evening, after a spectacular Potholes Reservoir summer sunset, there will be a fireworks show, and you can take it in from the resort, from Blythe Point, or from Potholes State Park. This is a great time to stay at the resort, too, because the Beach House Bar and Grill is on site. They will be booming with business. The store there is going to have plenty of drinks and tackle for you, and if you're an overnight guest, you can fish off the docks too, which have been giving up quite a few fish as of late, to include some nice crappie. It might be too late for an overnight stay at the resort, but you can try to book one. The place to go is MardonResort.com. That's MardonResort.com, where the fish bite, but we don't. And now you know what's hot this week in the Pacific Northwest.
And with that, let's head to this week's national edition of America Outdoors Radio.
Need to get away? Then head to Mardon Resort in sunny Central Washington. The fishing's awesome, wildlife is everywhere, and Mardon is the perfect place to swim, boat, and soak up the sun. When the day is done, hang out at the Beach Bar and Grill or head to your tent, RV, hotel room, or fabulous park cottage. Call 1-800-416-2736 to book now. That's 1-800-416-2736 for Mardon Resort.
Are you an outfitter, sporting goods retailer, boat dealer, or someone else in the outdoors industry? If you are, you know targeted advertising works best, and what would work better than advertising with America Outdoors Radio? Our hour-long show is heard throughout Seattle, Everett, and the East Side every Saturday morning, and your message will be heard there too. Want to find out more? Contact me, John Cruz, through my website at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. What you are about to hear is a best of edition of America Outdoors Radio that has aired previously. It features some of the best interviews that we're sharing with you this week. Enjoy.
It's time for America Outdoors Radio, the show that covers the outdoor scene across the U.S. of A. and the entire continent. Fishing, hunting, conservation, outdoor recreation, and great destinations, we cover it all every week. It's your country, your outdoors. Let's explore it together with your host, John Cruz.
Welcome aboard. We are on the road this week in Las Vegas, Nevada. That's right. My wife is enjoying her time in the casinos and driving to some of the more scenic places in the area like Red Rock Canyon, while I'm hoofing it around the Sands Expo Center just off the Strip, along with 65,000 other people. What are we all doing there? I'll tell you what we're doing. We're at SHOT Show, the biggest firearms-related trade show there is. SHOT Show, which is the short name for the Shooting, Hunting, Outdoors Trade Show, takes place in the middle of January every year at the Sands Expo Center in Las Vegas. It's put on by the National Shooting Sports Foundation, which does an excellent job of putting this gargantuan show together every year. Despite the fact so many people attend, it's not open to the public. No, you have to have credentials to get in and be involved in this industry. So, who attends? Well, you'll see law enforcement officers and members of the military from all over the world who hit not only the main exhibit hall, but also the big law enforcement area within the convention center to see the latest in tactical innovations. The exhibitors own firearms companies or make accessories for firearms, but it's more than that. There are booths promoting not only pistols, rifles, and shotguns, but also optics, knives, air guns, flashlights, hunting blinds, sporting dog items, outdoors clothing, outdoors cooking, and all sorts of accessories for all of the above. The companies that exhibit here are doing two things. Number one, they're rolling out what's new for the year. And number two, they are trying to make sales. And sales is big business here. Every booth generally has a sales team meeting with distributors large and small, as well as retailers representing not only the big box stores, but also the little mom and pop gun shops you find all over the country. On top of that, there's over 2,000 members of the outdoor media present to cover the event and find out what the companies are up to for the new year. In addition to this, there are seminars for law enforcement, retailers, executive managers, and more, along with a State of the Industry dinner featuring a great keynote speaker, Mike Rowe from Dirtiest Jobs. Do you want to find out more about SHOT Show and see maybe if you qualify to attend? Well, go to their website. It's shotshow.org. Again, shotshow.org. It's an incredible site full of information. You'll get to see who the exhibitors are, what the seminars are. It is an amazing event. The website again, shotshow.org. It's going to be a busy show, and I'll be recording lots of audio to share with you, but enough about SHOT Show. Let's tell you about the great interviews we are sharing with you, interviews that were truly the best of 2016. We'll start off with outdoors writer and television personality Ron Spomer. We'll be chatting with him about the best firearms for defense against Alaskan bears, and we'll have a discussion about bear spray. Sticking with Alaska, Scott Haugen, another well-known outdoors writer and man you're apt to see on TV, will tell you about fishing for she-fish in Alaska. Never heard of she-fish before? Me either. Not until Scott told me about them. And we'll wind up the show with an interview with the always inspirational Tread Barta. Tread was on top of the outdoors television world when he literally was toppled off his horse by a disease that has left him paralyzed from the chest down. That didn't stop Tread, though. He still hunts and fishes from a wheelchair, and he has penned a book about his experiences. The title of it is Driven, and you can buy it now. But before we get into all that, let's head to Northern California for a bit of trout fishing. You're back with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz, and this portion of the show is brought to you every week by California Sportsman Magazine. It is the publication that comes out every month that covers the hunting and fishing scene throughout California. Look for it at a newsstand near you. Speaking of California, and speaking specifically of Northern California, when it comes to this time of year, a lot of people think steelhead, but don't give up on trout. With us here to tell you where you can catch trout this month in Northern California is Gary Morales. He is the founder of Shasta Tackle Company, which is now operating under the Max Lure Company umbrella, and Gary is now with Max Lure Company. Gary, welcome to the show.
It's good to talk to you.
Gary, you wrote a great article in the Mac Attack newsletter this month about fall fishing in Northern California, and you mentioned a couple lakes in particular. Let's go ahead and start off with your home lake, so to speak, Shasta Lake. What kind of fishery is this in November for trout?
Well, Shasta Lake has pretty much been my playground for my entire life, and I have to say it is actually one of the best trout fisheries in the state. They have a large population of native rainbows as well as a lot of planted fish as well. And that lake really comes on fire in November. The fish have been deep all summer feeding on the abundant shad schools. And then as the surface cools, these fish come right up on the surface chasing the shad, which will be right on top. And it's fabulous fishing because you can see the fish just actively feeding on the bait in along the shoreline. You can get in there and troll right along the banks and over the shallow points. And I tell you, it's not uncommon to catch 25 fish a day that are weighing anywhere from 2 to 4 pounds in that lake.
Oh my gosh, what an incredible fishery. And I'm guessing, just like most fall trout fisheries, that the waters probably aren't too crowded because everybody's out there chasing steelhead, or they've picked up their guns and they're out deer hunting or bird hunting.
Yeah, you got that one right. I've been out on that lake. Of course, it's a huge lake, but I've been out on that lake in the late fall months and not even seen another boat out there and catching fish, that you can only imagine.
Now, you mentioned another lake in this article over by Susanville, Eagle Lake. Tell our listeners about this one. I'm not familiar with Eagle Lake.
Well, Eagle Lake is kind of isolated when you talk about Northern California because it's in the northeastern part of the state, about 20, 30 minutes north of a little town of Susanville. But the unique thing about this lake is it has a population of rainbow trout that grow only in that lake, and they get to some good size in there. That lake will produce fish, averaging 2-4 pounds, and occasionally you get a fish over 6, maybe even 7 pounds in there.
Wow.
The only downside to fishing this lake is, being winter months, it's at 5,000 foot elevation. It's about a 22,000 acre lake, and it can get quite cold and snowy up there. It's nice to have a heater with you if you run up there, and definitely want to check your road conditions and that before you go up to the area to fish. But what's unique about that lake is in the winter months, in the fall months, early winter, whatever, the fish move in from the lower end of the lake, the south end of the lake, in the deeper water, which this lake is only about 60 feet deep. And they'll move up into the shallow areas up to the northern part of the lake, which is above the little town of Spalding.
Okay.
And you get up in there, and it's only about 12 feet of water in there, so it's real shallow. So what we're primarily doing when we're going after these big rainbows in there is top lining. And typically I like to run up to the Half Moon Bay. There's Bucks Bay, Truxell Bay, and then the North Basin, which the North Basin has been really shallow, or if not even in existence for the last couple of years because of the drought. But they are getting water back in those areas now, and it could get better fishing up there again. But if you stay in the lower bays, you'll be right in around the tules there. There's a lot of tules along the shoreline there. What I like to do is I like to set up a spread of 4 rods. Typically I'll run, 100 to 150 feet behind the boat with the Crippler, which is a lure I invented when I was 16 years old, and it's probably my favorite trout lure.
Love it.
And then I'll run on the surface a couple of humdingers or a wiggle hoochie with a split shot in front of it about 200 feet behind the boat. And then I'll just run in right alongside those tules, and boy, those fish will be in there just waiting to ambush, the tui chub that are in that lake. And tell you can catch some really nice fish doing that.
Well, we have got to go, but Gary, thanks for telling our listeners about these 2 great fisheries. Folks, 2 to 4 to 6 pound trout in Northern California. They're waiting for you this month at Shasta Lake and Eagle Lake. If you want to find out more about what lures to use, go to maxlure.com, sign up for the free Mac Attack newsletter, and check out the article that Gary has written about this subject. Gary, thanks so much for sharing this with us on America Outdoors Radio.
Thank you for calling.
Master Marine in Mount Vernon, Washington specializes in fishing and fun. We offer 7 brands of boats, including Osprey, Sea Sport, Sea Dory, Tomcat, Lund, Weldcraft, and Thunderjet. We also offer Suzuki, Yamaha, and Mercury motors. In other words, no matter what you're fishing for, we've got the boat for you. Drop by Master Marine at 330 East Blackburn Road in Mount Vernon to see what's on the lot, or go online to mastermarine.com. That's mastermarine.com.
For the best custom knives that money can buy, visit exquisiteknives.com. American Bladesmith Society Master Smith Dave Ellis can provide you with an inexpensive hunting knife or a $50,000 bejeweled collectible folding knife. Dave's extensive knowledge will give you that cutting edge you desire. Check out our knives at exquisiteknives.com. That's exquisiteknives.com, where you'll find the finest custom knives in the world.
If you carry concealed, how do you carry your backup magazine? On your belt? Loose in your pocket? Not at all? Snag Mag is the solution. It's the original concealed pocket magazine holster that looks like you're carrying a pocket knife. Concealed in plain sight and designed for a fast reload, you can be confident your backup ammo is exactly where you need it when you need it. Find your holster today at snagmag.com. That's snagmag.com, because there's no such thing as extra ammo.
Is your firearm Bortec clean? Bortec offers a full line of premium firearm cleaning and maintenance products. They redefine gun care and offer serious shooters the clean and well-maintained firearm you need to make the most accurate shots at the range or in the field. Bortec products set the benchmark and make gun care simple, quick, and effective. Find out more at Bortec.com. That's BORTECH.com. And use the code RADIO to get a 10% discount on your first order.
Are you an outfitter, sporting goods retailer, boat dealer, or someone else in the outdoors industry? If you are, you know targeted advertising works best, and what would work better than advertising with America Outdoors Radio? Our hour-long show is heard throughout Seattle, Everett, and the East Side every Saturday morning, and your message will be heard there too. Better still, our rates are way more affordable than you think. Want to find out more? Contact me, John Cruz, through my website at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. That's America Outdoors Radio, bringing you more business.
Looking for the safest, most stable riding boat on the market? Welcome to Stabicraft. Born in New Zealand, Stabicraft has a built-in reputation for making the most seaworthy boats on the market. Heavy-gauge aluminum chambered boats with models ranging from 14 to 29 feet in a variety of configurations to suit all your needs. Check out the all-new 2750 center cab, a walk-around design for the Northwest market and packed with industry-leading features to suit all types of fishing, allowing you to adventure with confidence. Book a test ride today at Stabicraft.com.
Need to get away? Then head to Mardon Resort in sunny Central Washington. The fishing's awesome, wildlife is everywhere, and Mardon is the perfect place to swim, boat, and soak up the sun. When the day is done, hang out at the beach bar and grill or head to your tent, RV, hotel room, or fabulous park cottage. Call 1-800-416-2736 to book now. That's 1-800-416-2736 for Mardon Resort.
Did you check out this month's edition of Northwest Sportsman Magazine? If you didn't, you're missing out, because it's the best publication out there that covers the fishing and hunting scene, not only in Washington State, but in the entire Northwest. Northwest Sportsman Magazine has got great writers and great content you need to have to be successful. Northwest Sportsman Magazine is the publication for you. Find out more at nwsportsmanmag.com or pick up a copy at a newsstand near you. You're back with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. This portion of the show is brought to you by the Alaska Sporting Journal. It is the monthly publication that covers the hunting and fishing scene throughout the great state of Alaska. Look for it at a newsstand near you. Speaking of Alaska, we've got a great guest for you here. His name, Ron Spomer, very well-known outdoors personality in terms of a writer, photographer. He's on TV as well. Coming at us from Boise today, Ron, welcome to the show.
Hey, John, thanks for having me.
Ron, you just got back from Alaska. What were you doing up there?
Oh, we were doing everything. You know, you can't beat Alaska for a little bit of everything outdoors fun. So we were silver salmon fishing, we were waterfowl hunting, we were brown bear hunting, and we were moose hunting.
Nice. Exactly. What part of the state were you in?
Well, this time went someplace new. You know, I've been up there about 19, 20 different times, and I'd never been really in that southeast corner, sort of the bend, just where the Yukon border comes out. So I would be between Cordova and Yakutat, on the coast.
And how was the weather? It's a little bit iffy this time of year.
Yeah, right. We had 80-mile-an-hour winds one day, pouring rain. We got rained on about 7, 8 days out of about 14 that we were up there. But we had a few nice days, too, so that's always a treat.
So here's a question for you. When it comes to October, are the bears pretty much in hibernation, or are they still there?
Oh, they're still there.
All right. That's good to know, and that's a good thing, because I want to talk to you today, Ron, about what kind of firearms you should have with you, whether you're fishing or just hiking or wildlife viewing, to protect yourself from bears.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good question. You know what? Everybody talks about whether they should have a .375 H&H Magnum or a 12-gauge slug gun, and I kind of take a universal approach to it. I'm thinking, what do I want to accomplish, and how can I do it? So, one thing I need to think about is convenience and speed. Are you going to carry this thing around with you? And if you do, how quickly can you get it off your shoulder or out of your holster and into action? Because sometimes this stuff can happen really quickly.
Right.
So consider convenience and speed.
I guess we'll start off with pistols then, whether you're carrying it on your side or whether you're carrying it in a chest holster. When it comes to pistols, what would you recommend?
Well, it's, again, first thing is convenience and speed, but then you also have to have reliability and power. And in handguns, the power thing becomes the issue. You've certainly got some convenience with them, and you probably have speed. And if you get a revolver, I think you've got your reliability. Then you have to talk about power. And I know guys who have killed bears, grizzly bears, and brown bears with 9mm Lugers.
Are you kidding me?
57 Magnums.
Wow.
I don't think that's an ideal selection right there.
No.
No, not even close. So most guys are going to think, well, I need at least a 44 Rem mag, and that's not a bad starting point. And then from there, you just go on up. You want to get a 500, you're welcome to it. The Smith & Wesson 500 certainly throw a big enough bullet to do the job. But as you go up from that 44 mag to the 454 to the 460s and all the rest of them, you've got to be, again, thinking about that weight and the convenience and the power and whether you can control it. I think that's a big issue. Some guys will take a big, heavy revolver up there, and they've shot it a few times at home. They don't really enjoy it, so they don't develop the necessary skills to control that thing.
Right.
One shot and the muzzle's way up in the air or something, so you really have to think that through. And I would rather have a 44 mag I can control than a 500 I can't. That
is a great point. Let me ask you about a couple of popular personal defense weapons that may or may not be good for bear. And I'm thinking, the 1911, the Colt 1911, or one of the variations in a 45 caliber or the 10 millimeter. Are those good or not so good?
Not so good. No. Much as I love the 10 millimeter and I use it for hunting smaller game down here, hogs and stuff, it's essentially a 357 Magnum in performance. So there's kind of your answer right there. Fairly small caliber, fairly light. And the 45, most experienced shooters on the 1911 and a 45, while I love that flat, convenient format.
Sure.
You got two issues. One is the reliability, and you can have an awfully darn reliable 1911, but it is an autoloader.
Right.
And then you've got pretty puny cartridge, really.
Interesting.
It's considered a man stopper
right.
In an autoloader, but a brown bear is a heck of a lot bigger than a man.
All right, so let's transition to shotguns, and let's transition to slugs, because, there's a lot of guides up there that are carrying short-barrel shotguns up there with their clients. Pros and cons when it comes to that?
Well, I think you're doing real well with that, especially in a pump. I wouldn't go with an autoloader for the same reasons on the complication part of it. For reliability, I'd go with the pump gun. You can get a lot of rounds in it, extended magazine, and, most pump shooters, if they're experienced, they can really pour through one of those. Then it just becomes a matter of selecting the right bullet. And, of course, the bullet's what does the work with all of these. But shotguns, they're quick to point. They're fairly easy to carry over your shoulder. A pump is rugged and reliable. I would get one in stainless synthetic or marine coat finish of some kind, so you don't have to worry so much about rust, because you're going to be dragging this thing all around while you fish. It's going to get wet. It might be in the bottom of the boat. But, man, you really can't beat that big, heavy 70 caliber is essentially what it is. A 12 gauge is a .729 nominal barrel. That's a big chunk of lead you're throwing out there.
All right. One more thought here. Is it a good idea to carry bear spray in lieu of a firearm?
Boy, the experts have done a lot of research on this, and they claim it is. Now, there was a recent incident in Montana where the fella had bear spray, and he supposedly blasted that bear right in the face as it ran to him. It went right through the mist and took him down anyway. My guess is that bear just happened to be exhaling when she went through that cloud, because they say once you hit them and they breathe that in, get it into their nose and eyes, it really effectively stops them. As a shooter and a hunter, I'm not so sure I'd want to trust my life to it. I've got one, and I've carried it a few times, but again, you need to practice getting that thing out of the holster and effectively using it and spraying it too. And then you've got the wind issue. You know, if the wind's blowing from the bear to you, you're going to spray yourself instead of the bear.
Excellent point. And, and maybe the best thing to do is to carry both. And that way, well, actually, maybe that's not the best thing to do, because now that I'm thinking about it, that might not be a smart thing.
Yeah, because then you're fumbling around trying to decide which one to use. I would rather pick one or the other and dedicate myself to learning how to use that thing and use it quickly.
And I think you hit on something really important here. Whether you're carrying bear spray or whether you're carrying a firearm, practice, because muscle memory is a huge issue when it comes to this. You're not going to have time to think about what you're doing. It's going to have to be reflex, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I will take one exception with that. Often you do have a lot of time to think about it. I mean, if it's a surprise charge, you don't. But many times you're up there fishing or hunting and you see bears in the area. And I've had them practically crawl in the boat trying to get some fish we had in there without giving us any trouble other than that. Nonetheless, we knew they were there, and if we wanted to discourage those, we could have shot in the water in front of them. Plenty of time to do that. So it's not always a split-second decision you have to make.
All right. It is time for us to go, but before we do, let's give folks a website so people can catch up with what you're doing, because you are a busy guy, always got something going on.
Yeah, just visit me at ronspomeroutdoors.com. You can go to YouTube and punch in Ron Spomer Outdoors and pull up all of my videos. And I'm on Instagram and Facebook and all the rest, so just punch in Ron Spomer and do a search for me. Would love to have you join us, like our page, and we put out 2 or 3 blogs every week. Try to keep people informed and educated about the new things, the old things, the guns and the ammo and the ballistics and the bullets, and answer lots of questions about all this stuff.
That's Ron Spomer, folks. He's one of the best out there. Go ahead and go to his website, ronspomeroutdoors.com. Ron, thanks for taking the time to talk to us today on America Outdoors Radio.
John, it was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Founded by Alaskan fishermen, Banff boats are built with the saltwater angler in mind. Our boats are designed to be extremely stable and give you the smoothest ride of any like vessel in its class. Banff boats have fully enclosed cabins, a V-berth, a true walk-around deck, and are easy to maintain. With 4 models to choose from, we're sure to have the perfect boat to bring aboard more fish. Find out more at BAMFboats.com. BAMFboats.com. Building the perfect boat for you. Tillamook Bay is considered the greatest fishing experience on the west coast for fall Chinook salmon and winter steelhead, and Dungeness crab is plentiful. 5 major rivers connect with the ocean on the Tillamook coast. It's not unusual to snag a 40 to 50 pounder. Go out in a boat or stand on a riverbank or dock. Try fishing from a dory boat and experience the thrill of a beach launch and landing. Use spinners, sand shrimp, or salmon eggs to lure them. The fish will line up to grab your bait. Go to tillamookcoast.com/fishing to find guides and places to stay.
It's time for another local shot of the outdoors. It's the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio, and you'll only hear it here on Fox Sports 1380 KRKO.
We're talking with Scott Haugen. He lives in Oregon, and he's got a dog, and he uses it to hunt pheasant, quail, and even turkey. I know, that's an odd one. That's a new one for me. Scott, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, John. Nice to be back with you.
Scott, how do you hunt turkey with a dog? I've never heard of this before.
It's something a lot of people don't realize you can do, but it's legal in most states throughout the country in the fall. And the reason they don't do it in the spring is because there are so many, young chicks being born. They don't want to get the dogs turned loose, killing them or destroying nests. But in the fall, it's a different ball game, and it's fun because basically what you have is a big old upland bird that smells 100 times stronger than any pheasant or chucker these dogs are going to track. So it's a lot of fun. You have turkeys that are in big flocks this time of year as you go into winter, anywhere from 20 to I've seen flocks of over 200 birds.
Are you flushing them just like you would a pheasant?
Well, I'll go two different ways. The first way is when I see a flock that's feeding in the valley floor or in a field or something like that, I'll wait for them to start making a move into nearby trees. And I really like it if they can start moving uphill. So, it might be a waiting game, kind of like a big game hunt. You're waiting to make that right move at the right time. So I don't want to flush them really right in the middle of the field. I like waiting for them to start moving uphill. Once they get up into some thick brush or heavier tree cover, that's when I'll send the dog in. The dog will go out way ahead of me. The turkeys won't even have any idea I'm there. The dog will get on them, and turkeys, they have a hard time flying, taking off uphill, and if there's brush and cover, then literally they can't take off because they don't have the runway, I guess. What you're going to get is a lot of times these birds will just hold. They'll hold in nearby brush, whether it's briar thickets or Scotch broom, vine maple, whatever it is. And if it's low trees, a lot of times they'll just hold in whatever brush is underneath those trees, or sometimes just jump right up into those trees that 10, 15, 20-year-old reprod or oak trees or maples or whatever it is, and then they'll hold tight right in there. And ideally, if they if the dog is trained well, and if there's some birds on the ground, your dog will go on point, and by the time you catch up with them, the dog's on point. You kick them up and flush them, and boy, I tell you think kicking up a covey of quail is exciting? Throw 20, 30 birds that weigh anywhere from 10 to 20 pounds up in the air right in front of you, and it's it's a flush you'll never forget.
Oh, no kidding. We are out of time, but folks, if you want to find out more about hunting turkeys with dogs, go to Scott Haugen, HAUGEN.com. That's ScottHaugen.com. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, John.
There's a whole bunch more of the great outdoors coming your way on Fox Sports 1380.
Pheasants Forever is working hard every day to ensure there's more wildlife habitat for the future. To join us, go to pheasantsforever.org.
You're back with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. This portion of the show is brought to you by the Alaska Sporting Journal. It is the monthly magazine that covers fishing, hunting, and more in the great state of Alaska. Look for it at a newsstand near you. Speaking of Alaska, we've got a really unique topic that we're going to bring to you this week. We're talking to Scott Haugen, very well-known outdoors writer who's been in the business for a long time, and he's been fishing for sheefish in Alaska. Scott, welcome to the show.
Thanks, John. It's nice to be back with you.
Scott, sheefish. I know nothing about these fish at all. Tell me about them.
Well, they're an interesting fish, and it's funny. Even a lot of people that you run into in Alaska, haven't heard of these fish. They run in a pretty small area of western and southwest Alaska. And in the years my wife and I lived up in the Arctic, I was really intrigued with these things. Of course, we caught grayling and Arctic char and lake trout through the ice up there where we lived on the North Slope. But these sheefish always intrigued me, and I got to fish for them in the summer in southwest Alaska here. 5-6 years ago, and they're called the tarpon of the north, and they're just an amazing fish, up to 30, 40, 50 pounds, and these things just take off like rockets, whether you're fishing them with gear or with flies, multiple jumps. Very, very strong fish, and a lot of fun. And I'd eaten it before too when I was up there on the trap line. I used to run a big wolf trap line up there, and I swapped a guy who I met from another village. He had sheefish meat, and I had dollfish meat, and of course we both thought we got the better end of that deal. So they're a very good eating fish as well. But then this last spring, I had the opportunity to hook up with a buddy who lives in Kotzebue, and we went fishing through the ice for these things. And I thought, holy cow! If you can imagine catching a tarpon through the ice, here's a fish that has this notoriety for making long runs and for jumping. What's it going to be like drilling a hole through 5 feet of ice and trying to hand line this thing or fight it on a little ice fishing rod? And well, it was more exciting than I even thought it was going to be.
Well, I'll bet bet it was. So that's a great question. How is the fight under the ice?
They're strong. It's long. It's a hard fight. It's some of the locals there, when they're going out and fishing, they're just jigging with their nixick, which is just something that the local Inupiat people make right there. They'll make it out of a piece of wood or traditionally caribou antler or beluga whale rib bone, and they'll get like a 200 or 300 pound dacron line and tie their spoon to it and just start jigging. And so when they're out there, catching these things, they're, the bite's on and they're trying to yard them out of those holes. And I went up there and I wanted to do a little bit more on the sport fishing side. I took my son up there. He was 14 years old, had just turned 14. So he was having a good time. And, we'd go out and we'd drill through 5 feet of ice is what the depth was at that time, and just traveling around the sound there looking for fish. And those ice holes, they're kind of like glass. They're really sharp on the top end and sharp on the bottom end. So you want a good, strong, fishing line, a good, strong braid that's not going to have any abrasions or break on that ice and when it's rubbing up against it. Because some of those fights on the little specialized fishing rods with the rod and reel, they were up to 10 minutes long with multiple runs. And
wow.
I don't know if they were trying to jump or not under there, but boy, they're sure making some long runs.
Wow. What kind of spoons were you using in terms of the type of spoon and the color of the spoon and the size?
Yeah, they're just it's just a jigging spoon that they have up there. It's about a 6-inch, 5-inch, 6-inch spoon. Has a treble hook on it. Some have some flashaboo tied onto them right there. I also did really good jigging a 1-ounce rooster tail. Just jigging that up and down. The red and white combination seemed to be really good there too. So basically anything flashy. These are a predatory fish. So any type of minnow imitation. There are a couple stores you can go to there in Kotzebue and pick those things up, and I can't remember the brand name off the top of my head, but they're basically a big spoon that these things are getting after. A lot of the locals will take, once they catch a she-fish, they'll cut a little section of meat right underneath the lower jaw of the fish that they previously caught, and cut about an inch long section and put that on the hook for scent and some added movement as well. So we're putting scents on there. ProCure has a line of ice fishing scents that we tested out up there, and I was impressed with that too. So again, they're a predatory fish. They travel in schools, and the neat thing is once the bite hits, and it's going to turn on and get ready, because you'll be catching fish nonstop for our bite lasted over an hour and a half there. So it can be a long couple days hunting for these things, but once you find the school, it's well worth the effort.
Wow, sounds like an absolute blast. So table fare, how you said they were good, but how are you cooking them, and how do they taste? They're an amazingly good fish. A very high oil content. They reminded me a lot of a spring Chinook, or salmon that people get on the Nushagak or some of the rivers out there in Southwest. Just a very good fish. Our favorite way to actually eat it was smoked, just because of this high oil content. Sure. But we Tiffany cooked them up a bunch of different ways. Did some baked. Threw some on the barbecue as well. Cooked them, and when you have a fish with that much fat content, I think I might even be able to cook one up and make it taste good. So they're a really good eating fish. All right. Well, she-fish in Alaska, who would have thunk? Let's turn our attention to some holiday gift suggestions. I know you are always writing books and producing content. Do you have anything that people might want for the holidays? You can never go wrong with a cookbook, and my wife Tiffany has a line of cookbooks that were basically written for people in the Pacific Northwest and Alaska. She has a cooking big game book, which is great. Cooking game birds book. She just came out with her latest one is a cooking seafood book, and she has a lot of years of trial and error in developing all of her own recipes, and those make great books. Also, I have a couple different books on Alaska. One is our adventure story, still my favorite book I've written, and of all the books we've written, I guess my wife and I think we have
20-some between the two of us now. So it's called Hunting the Alaskan High Arctic. It's just an adventure story of my subsistence time living up in Alaska. This is where we could get 4 Dall sheep a year on subsistence license up in the village of Anatuvik Pass where we lived. It has the story of the man-eating polar bear I tracked down and got in Point Lay, and just a lot of other just modern-day hunting adventures up with indigenous cultures and the peoples of the Arctic. We have that, and then I have my Fly Fishing Alaska book, which is basically a where-to book, not necessarily just restricted to how to fly fish in Alaska, but where to go. It's the most comprehensive fly fishing book that I know of that's put together. And then we also started a booking service here recently. So the she fishing trip we talked about, we're booking for multiple places there, be it the summer or this springtime through the ice, and all these things can be found on our website, my website, which is just scotthaugen.com.
All right, and what is Tiffany's website?
Tiffany is tiffanyhaugen.com, and all her orders, all her cookbooks are on my website as well, so it'll link right back to mine. But yeah, if you want to check out her blog, also has a lot of great recipes, things where she's put together from our travels to Alaska, and I think we're up there 5 times again this year. And of course, we lived up there through most of the 90s as well. So a lot of good free information on her blog, and yeah, you can check that out to her same website there, tiffanyhaugen.com.
All right, the websites to go to again are scotthaugen.com or tiffanyhaugen.com. Haugen spelled Haugen.
Yep, Haugen.
Scott, always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks so much for this great information about she-fish in Alaska.
Hey, thank you, John. Keep up the good work.
That's Scott Haugen, folks. And I'll tell you what, Scott and his wife, Tiffany, as a matter of fact, their entire family, really nice people, very approachable. You can take in some of their seminars and meet Scott and Tiffany at their booths that they will have at the Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show in Portland or the Washington Sportsman Show in Puyallup. That takes place in January of every year. The other thing about these two is that they really do everything that they talk about. As you heard from Scott, he and Tiffany, they lived in Alaska. They were basically doing subsistence living. They are the real deal, and I would urge you to support them by buying their books, not just because they're great people, but because they put out some really good stuff, whether it be the cooking side that Tiffany puts out or the hunting side and the fishing side that Scott puts out. Check out their websites. Again, it's tiffanyhaugen.com and scotthaugen.com. You won't regret it. Stick around. We've got a whole lot more of the outdoors coming up on America Outdoors Radio.
Founded by Alaskan fishermen, Banff boats are built with the saltwater angler in mind. Our boats are designed to be extremely stable and give you the smoothest ride of any like vessel in its class. Banff boats have fully enclosed cabins, a V-berth, a true walk-around deck, and are easy to maintain. With 4 models to choose from, we're sure to have the perfect boat to bring aboard more fish. Find out more at BAMFboats.com. BAMFboats.com. Building the perfect boat for you.
The Caddis Game Changer breathable waders are going to change the way you fish. You've always counted on Caddis waders to keep you warm and dry through the years, and Caddis never lets you down. Now comes the Game Changer. It's the same tough durability and the addition of a zippered hard pouch pocket that opens up to become a work shelf. Now you can change accessories on the water for maximum flexibility. Look for Caddis Game Changer breathable waders wherever quality fishing products are sold or online at caddiswaders.com.
Did you check out this month's edition of Northwest Sportsman Magazine? If you didn't, you're missing out because it's the best publication out there that covers the fishing and hunting scene, not only in Washington State, but in the entire Northwest. Northwest Sportsman Magazine has got great writers and great content you need to have to be successful. Northwest Sportsman Magazine is the publication for you. Find out more at nwsportsmanmag.com or pick up a copy at a newsstand near you.
For the best custom knives that money can buy, visit exquisiteknives.com. American Bladesmith Society Mastersmith Dave Ellis can provide you with an inexpensive hunting knife or a $50,000 bejeweled collectible folding knife. Dave's extensive knowledge will give you that cutting edge you desire. Check out our knives at exquisiteknives.com. That's exquisiteknives.com, where you'll find the finest custom knives in the world.
Looking for the safest, most stable riding boat on the market? Welcome to Stabycraft. Born in New Zealand, Stabycraft has a built-in reputation for making the most seaworthy boats on the market. Heavy gauge aluminum chambered boats with models ranging from 14 to 29 feet in a variety of configurations to suit all your needs. Check out the all-new 2750 center cab, a walk-around design for the Northwest market, and packed with industry-leading features to suit all types of fishing, allowing you to adventure with confidence. Book a test ride today at stabycraft.com.
Invasive species are organisms that are non-native to an ecosystem. They outcompete native species and reduce the quality of our resources. We can all prevent the spread by following the simple clean, drain, and dry steps. Clean all watercraft, trailers, and outdoor equipment. Drain all water from boat live wells, motors, ballast tanks, and bilges. And lastly, thoroughly dry all equipment and gear. Do your part to preserve our amazing outdoor heritage for future generations.
You're back with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. This portion of the show is brought to you by the American Shooting Journal. It is the publication that covers the shooting scene and the firearms scene throughout the United States of America. Look for it at a newsstand near you. We've got an incredible guest coming your way. We are talking to the man, the myth, the legend, Tred Barta himself. Tred, great pleasure to have you on America Outdoors Radio today.
Hey, thanks, everybody. Get your helmet on, get in the game. My name is Tred Barta, and things are not easy, but I keep going. And if I can do it, you can do it.
Absolutely. You've been an inspiration to a lot of people for several years now. Tred, you've got a new book coming out. Tell our listeners about it.
Yeah, thank you, John. The name of the book is Driven, and it took me a year and a half to write. It's about my life history from a young boy in prep school. It has to do with the U.S. Olympic biathlon team and my hunting and fishing exploits, but it also chronicles the canyon fishing on the continental shelf, as I was one of the first pioneers to really go far offshore for big-eye tuna, swordfish, and marlin. And it covers some hunting, mostly fishing, but it also talks a lot about life and the struggle I've had now being confined to a wheelchair for the rest of my life. So it's a great book. It's going to, if I can plug it, it's going to be on bartaway.com. On just about January 1st, it will be available, and that's bartaway.com, and I hope you buy it, and I hope you enjoy it.
So can folks pre-order this book now and kind of say, hey, I've got a Christmas gift for you?
No, they can't. Unfortunately, it won't be available for just about January 1st, and we're going to miss that Christmas season, but certainly can be bought for a late Christmas present.
Absolutely. So for all of you who are into the belated Christmas gifts, Driven, the book by Tred Barta will be a really good choice for you.
Oh, dear, belated.
So, Tred, question for you, and I've never thought of asking this before. How did you get into the outdoors media industry?
It was before the incidences that put me in a wheelchair, and I was eating a tuna fish salad at the Hampton Bays Diner, and I met a gentleman who said, I read your book, you'd be great on TV. And I said, well, I don't know about that, but I have a lot of people. I'm an outdoor writer already, and I got an agent. His name was Mark Friedman of Surge Inc., and he got me on the best and worst of Tred Barta, the original show.
Sure.
That went all the way from Outdoor Life Network to NBC Sports, but he got me on the best damn sports show on Fox. And that's how it all started, and the show took off, and 10 years of history behind me. I think it was a good show.
It was a good show. I remember watching it myself, always enjoyed it. But
coming back.
What?
I'm coming back. Can't talk about it, but you're going to see me again.
Oh, that is a teaser. That is a teaser. All right, well, you heard it here first. At least you kind of heard it here first. Tred will be back on the air, so that's good to know. But, you know, how many years ago was it that you got spinal cancer or cervical spinal cancer?
It's been 7 years. I was riding my paint horse Badger up in the mountains. It was a beautiful day. I was about to leave for Alaska to do a black bear hunt and a grizzly hunt with the longbow and wooden arrows. My left foot started to go. My knee went. Before I knew it, I was in the helicopter and an ambulance, And I was in the hospital for about 5 months. They gave me a week to live 3 times, and I had a very rare blood cancer that made the blood thick, and it blew up my spinal cord, and I am now paralyzed from my chest down. And I'm in a wheelchair for the rest of my life with no chance of ever getting out. And everybody, I made the simple decision, either hurry up living or hurry up dying. And I decided to live.
I noticed, and I really think, Tread, that is why you're such an inspiration to so many of us that recreate outdoors, that hunt and fish, because you're doing it under these extreme conditions, confined to a wheelchair. And most people, paralyzed from the chest down, would think, well, my hunting days are over, but somehow you managed to pull it off. How do you go about your hunting trips these days?
Well, I can pull the longbow, I could shoot the rifle and the shotgun, but I have to be strapped into my wheelchair because I have no stomach muscles. And as a result of that, I can move my arms and my head, and I can wheel around, and I'm very active, but I have to be strapped in a certain way. And then it's just a matter of saying, I can do this. I cannot do any of these sports, hunting, fishing, boating, without help. And it's very, very hard to ask for help when you've been giving help to other people. But I think my mission today is to inspire others and really take the attitude that never ever give up and be the most that God gave you. And all of us have a hard time in life. But I can tell you this, when they told me I had 1 week to live, I looked back and I asked the following questions, and I want all of you to listen. I had 1 week to live. I was going to die. And I sat on the porch with my dog and I said, have I been honorable? Have I been on time? Have I been a good person? Have I helped other people? Do I have honor and code? And the answer was yes. And with that, I had the strength, and a miracle happened that I pulled out of this, and today they cannot find cancer in Tread Barta. So it's an amazing story. And today I want to help people by doing things and inspiring them by merely saying, if Tread can do it, I can do it. And that's basically my life message now.
Well, it is a powerful message indeed. And folks, you can follow Tread on Facebook. He posts there often and very personal posts too. He is not shy about sharing the struggles that he's going through. He also shares the victories that he has as well. And I would highly recommend following him there.
Really like people to go to BartaWay.com because things that I'm selling or endorsing, but also new content is being written there all the time. BartaWay.com. But, one thing I'd like to say to you is you've done a marvelous job expanding your stations, and it really is an outdoor show. John, you've done a good job, and I want to congratulate you because I've been following it very carefully.
Well, Tread, that's high praise indeed, and it means a lot to me.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're going to grow and grow. You're getting bigger all the time.
Well, I'm working on it, and we're not just talking about the waistline either, Tread.
Yeah, I hear you. It's interesting, though. So many of us today get lazy. Everything around us is to make things easier. We have grown men that don't know how to change oil in a car, don't know what a distributor is, don't know how to fix anything with a screwdriver, and don't know basic carpentry skills. And further than that, they don't have basic survival skills. And it is my opinion in the circle of life, and I am a believer, everybody. I believe in Jesus Christ, my Savior. But I believe that nature, the outdoor world, teaches us more about ourselves than anything. And life, John, on your show, is very perishable.
Yes.
A wooden arrow can extinguish a moose or an elk at 20 yards. A wooden arrow shot by a longbow. And it was, some people say, wow, what an animal I shot. But a lot of other people, in reference to after they harvest the animal, no matter what weapon they take, is how precious life is and how you have to accomplish as much as you can in your life and help other people because you have the power of life. And it's a very good message.
It really is. Tread, we have got to go, but thank you so much for sharing this message. Again, this is Tread Barta that we're talking to. Get his new book. It's called Driven. It's coming out January 1st. It'll be available on Amazon.com and lots of other outlets as well.
BartaWay.com.
BartaWay.com. BartaWay.com is the other website to go to, and you'll find a lot more from Tread there, too. Tread, thanks so much for being with us today.
Yes, sir.
I hope you enjoyed our special Best of 2016 show today. We really did have some great guests during our inaugural year, and I'm glad we could share some of those interviews with you again. If you get a chance, be sure to support our sponsors, the folks that bring this show to you. They're the publishers of magazines like Northwest Sportsman Magazine, the American Shooting Journal, the Alaska Sporting Journal, and California Sportsman Magazine. They're all great resources for the outdoors and for the shooting sports. Look for them on a newsstand near you or subscribe online. Speaking of online, check out our website. It's AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. We've got podcasts of recent shows there and previews of what's coming up the next week. We've got a Facebook page too at America Outdoors Radio, and we're doing a giveaway. If you like our page and post where the Leupold binoculars are, what state you're from. One lucky person is going to win that pair of binoculars when we get 1,100 likes. Finally, you can tune into our show at RenoViolaOutdoors.com. It's the home of WRVO Radio, an internet station dedicated to outdoors programming 24 hours a day. We'll be back next week with a fresh round of the great outdoors for you. In the meantime, I hope you get to enjoy some of the sportsman shows and boat shows going on around the country right now, and some of the great fishing and hunting opportunities that are taking place as well. Until next week, I hope the good Lord blesses you, and remember, it's your country and your outdoors.
It's time for another local shot of the outdoors. It's the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio, and you'll only hear it here on Fox Sports 1380 KRKO.
Next up on our Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio, we're talking to Anton Jones. He's the owner of Daryl and Dad's Guide Service. He fishes Lake Chelan in central Washington, and the fishing in the winter is very good, especially for Mackinac. Anton, welcome to the show.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me.
Anton, winter months, this is really the time of year where you get into the big lake trout, isn't it?
Yes, the last state record was set in February, and before that we had one set in December. So we think that it's a prime time to get big fish.
And when we're talking big fish, we're talking big fish up to 30 pounds, aren't we?
Yes, it's a possibility. I mean, that's obviously not an everyday thing, but I consider big fish on Lake Chelan anything over 10. And anything over 20 is a true trophy and a rare fish. But there's 30-pound capacity. We think that there's a 40-pounder swimming around in there.
Wow. So when it comes to fishing for Mackinac in Lake Chelan, take just about 60 seconds here and tell our listeners how you go about doing it.
Okay. If you don't come away with anything else, stay within 5 feet of the bottom at all times. The fish have been conditioned since they hatched to feed on mysis shrimp. So whatever you present it close to the bottom. We like to use what we call a Jeff Drift rig, which is Max Lure spinner blade with tapered beads and dual hook tandem with it, baited with a piece of pike minnow, and we troll it slow near the bottom.
Well, that's simple enough. It sounds simple enough, but actually, folks, if you ever fish with Anton, you'll see he's a really busy guy because you're using downriggers. He's constantly adjusting them because, as you know, the bottom is not a static thing. The bottom changes in terms of the elevation. So you have to really pay attention, but Anton knows his stuff. If you want to figure out how to catch Mackinac, go fishing with him or his guide, Jeff Witkowski. You can give him a call at 509-687-0709 or go to his website, DarylAndDads.com. Anton, thanks so much for this great tip.
Thanks, John.
There's a whole bunch more of the great outdoors coming your way on Fox Sports 1380.
Are you an outfitter, sporting goods retailer, boat dealer, or someone else in the outdoors industry? If you are, you know targeted advertising works best, and what would work better than advertising with America Outdoors Radio? Our hour-long show is heard throughout Seattle, Everett, and the East Side every Saturday morning, and your message will be heard there too. Better still, our rates are way more affordable than you think. Want to find out more? Contact me, John Cruz, through my website at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. That's America Outdoors Radio, bringing you more business.